Latecomers, please do come in. Those who are thinking, oh my God, I haven't escaped, you can escape right now if you need to, but don't unless you have to. I think we're ready for round two of this overview of the most important emerging and powerful economies and the market potential they offer. Contrary to any impression I may have given that we're going to do India next, we're not. We're doing China now, and then India. But if you were hoping it was going to be India and now you're appalled, don't worry, we're getting there soon. But it is China. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're coming in, come in and settle down, and if you're not coming in, withdraw. Okay, let's get going. Same format, ladies and gentlemen, as we had before. We're going to have two distinguished panelists, and we're going to have an overview, a sort of intelligence report, a market report at the beginning. And I'm glad to say that our market reporter is actually going to join us on the panel. So let me first of all introduce our two panelists, then I'll introduce our first speaker. But our two panelists who are going to sit here, listen to the report, and then give us their considered thoughts on China and the Chinese market are Carey Fletcher from China Holidays and Dorothy Teng from Kuoni GTA. So if both of you would join me now, I'd be very grateful. Give them a warm hand, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to you both. And for our sort of intelligence report on the Chinese market, please again, give a warm welcome right now to Hans Dominicus, who works with the Amsterdam Board of Tourism and has an awful lot of expertise on China. So Hans, take the podium.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. What an honor to call me an expert. Thank you. Anyhow, ladies and gentlemen, I want to give you very brief some figures and some ideas about what China is about. I'm sure most of you will know by now. I work with the Amsterdam Tourism and Convention Board. That should show now. Yes, there it is, and we're talking about China. Is it the awakening tiger? Normally it is, actually. And China now, just to give you some figures, the population, 1.3 billion inhabitants. That doesn't say much, it's just a number, but it's the world's largest. It's the world's second largest GDP, and the economic growth, you all will know, is about 7.4% in 2012, and everybody expected not to be over 8%. Dream figures, I would say. The average income per capita is $5,000, but it's not equally divided. That's clear. That's in a lot of new emerging markets, it's not equally divided. That doesn't mean that much as long as there is enough share in tourism. The world ranking, by the way, is in the mid of the 184 countries, which means that this still is China as well. But this is also the tourism product of China, where this is the art of living in, for instance, Shanghai. Just to give you some impressions, most of the world's largest car brands are sold the best in China. They are the number one in the car market. Over 10.5 million cars is sold every year there, and they have passed the United States with that. And 600 out of 1,000 people, every 6 people out of 10 have a smartphone. If you look on what they can spend, and then we look to, say, 5 to 6 million, which is not that much compared to the inhabitants, middle-class Chinese working for Fortune 500 companies, 65%, you see the amount of money they gain on an annual basis. Yes, they can afford to travel, and they do, and that shows the next picture. Here you see the spending on the international tourism, and what international tourism means I will explain you in a couple of seconds. But what you see here, if you looked on the right column, the spend per trip in US dollars went up in 4 years' time by 30%. These are all international trips. Trips to Europe are definitely more expensive, that's true. But look on the growth figures. The until now, most of the money and most of the millionaires and billionaires are living in the west and the southern west, east and the southern east part of China. But the government now, avoiding that people will all move to that part of China, avoiding overcrowding, is now heavily investing in putting back factories in the rest of the country. And
sorry, what's that map telling us? What are the red bits?
These are the, actually these are the different provinces in China.
Yeah, but why are those bits in red? What's it showing?
Actually, it was just here for the impression on the different parts of China, but there are autonomous regions, there are provinces with different type of governments, actually, and that's what it's showing. I'm not going more in depth to it because it's too detailed at the moment. But just to give an impression, if I'm talking about the east and the west, the darker yellow part are most of the time regions which are supervised more than other ones. Nevertheless, China is building 75 new cities, creating 75 new cities in the country in the next decade. That means that the economy and wealth will be spread more over the country than at the moment. If we look into the age breakdown, because there's a problem in China, people get more healthy, we still have the one-child policy, although it's now weakening. People are getting more children, which is still more expensive. But what you see here is that the youngers are diminishing, and the right column is the expectation for 2022, while the middle part is coming up and the elderly people are coming up heavily. Are that your potential travelers? I doubt, because the middle part are the ones who are employed and gain most of the money. It's the same as in Europe. As soon as they retire, they travel more and they spend less. But yes, there will be an aging problem in China. Are we familiar with the Chinese? Yes, we are. Chinese living in Europe, and here you see the figures. The UK #1 with over 500,000 Chinese inhabitants. And that means that we are more acquainted to the Chinese than we might think. And in a lot of cases, people think that the Chinese culture is different, and it is only partly different. If we look into the number of outbound trips, and now we're coming to the volumes, here you see in the line, you see the annual growth rate. These are some figures from Kairos Future, strategic partners in Sweden. And you see in the bars the Chinese outbound trips in million. Yes, it's raising, but outbound is not only Europe. And what you see here, and that is logical, if you're in China and you do an outbound trip, you're looking first to the nearby markets, where they have the same type of service, where they have the same Asian style. And if you want to do an investment in education or an investment in telling about your experiences, then you go to Europe. It's the same as we go to Africa on a safari. That's something where you say, well, wow, I can tell something at home, and that's the same situation for Europe and China. Bear in mind that for one outbound trip, there are 40 inland trips. It's a huge in-home market in China. But you see here that Europe is slightly growing. Now, on the outbound, and you might be aware of this, Macau, Hong Kong are considered to be outbound. So you see that almost 70% stays in Asia. But it's logical. It's logical. The majority of the European inhabitants are staying within Europe. And then you see that Europe has a relatively good market share for the rest by 13%. But what is, the next chart will show that, what might be problematic is that we are losing market share. But mainly that the whole market is booming and Europe has to fight back. And that you see here. Here is that we're losing market share. And that means that we have to do a lot, and I'm quite happy that the European Travel Commission and the European Union has made an agreement last year that they will boost Europe in China. And the other parts outside Asia should also do their efforts to get more intercontinental visitors. Because the awareness is there. And if you look on the expenditure, it is an interesting market. This is the comparison between 2006 and 2010. China went up from the 6th to the 3rd rank and is expected to be closer to the USA or ex aequo on the USA in 2013. Who is leading in arrivals? Just to give you an impression, bear in mind that in Russia we're talking about 800,000 arrivals. Bear in mind that in Russia, considered to be part of Europe, but Siberia is a neighboring country to China. And last year when I was in Beijing, I was in the Russian Quarter. It's a whole quarter of the city which is in Russian language with Russian entrepreneurs. And then you see people coming on cheap airline flights from Siberia, which is only 1 hour flight. And then it's logical that you have a large market share there. But the other are impressive as well. I won't touch the point of visa that much, but what you see here, that there is where the UK should be more in a higher rank, there definitely is the problem with visa in and not being in the Schengen area. And that you see here in the fact that the UK is after Holland in this lineup. Air capacity, there is an interesting thing if you look to air capacity, and it's the weekly capacity in one direction. Of course, it's serving both directions. But what you see here is that beyond the fact that it's raising the number of flights on the left-hand side and the number of seats on the right-hand side, but beyond the fact that it's raising, you see that half of the air capacity is on Beijing. And that's interesting, where the wealth is spread around the country and other destinations are interesting and are important as well. So somewhere we have a backlog in destinations at the moment. To close up with is that China, I said, is Chinese that different? No, they're not that different. It's a capitalist country. Only the last 50 years they are communist. But in their heart they are capitalist. They know how to gain money. They know how to build up deals. And they have somewhere the same feeling of humor, which is an important thing as well. But some things in their behavior is different. Losing your face, you shouldn't do that. So that should be avoided. Relationship, and I come back in the next figure to that, is very important. And that means that contracting is differently there. At least that's what I experience. And disagreement avoidance. That's a bit the same as you come to the Queen. You never say no to the Queen. You say, yes, I don't agree. Well, that's the same in China. I was sitting to the Minister of Shandong, and I said, well, maybe we can help with that and that and that. And I got beautiful answers which all meant no, but she never said no. And after 3 times you must stop, and then you realize she doesn't want it. Nevertheless, if you're looking to the Guangxi, you have heard about it. Your family is important, your immediate family, your extended family, as there is a one-child policy. In a lot of cases they call their nephews and cousins, they call sisters and brothers. And there is the non-family affiliates. And what you see here, the other circles touching that, are circles where they are in. Now, if you want to enter their network, you should be linked to one of the circles. And that's one of the reasons why in administration or business, etc., if you want to do business, you first sign a contract. And it doesn't say anything. We signed up a contract with a large operator saying that they should do that and that and that, and it never succeeded. But that's not important, because the contract is just a reason to get you into the network. And then afterwards you start negotiating, where in the Western world we do it the other way around. There are some practical issues where they differ. We did, and that's the last part, we did some interesting study with the University of Shandong, University of Shanghai. And that was done by students, and this is the team of students I'm working with. And actually what they did, they asked the young generation, their generation, they did an internet survey and say, well, this was mainly on Holland, but what do you want to spend on a budget in Holland? And then you see that they have a very realistic idea on what a trip will cost. And they also are able to spend that. And then they asked them, how do you want to prefer to travel? And 74% said, I want to travel on my own. I know that a large part of the business is still concentrating on the group travel, but the next boom will be the individual self-guided tour of the Chinese, and just compare it with Japan in the last 2 decades. And another interesting is, what could you hinder traveling to Europe was one of the questions. And the number one, or no, not the number one, the number 2 is time reasons. They now are in the same stress as we don't have time to travel to Europe, are not able to go on a week. And yes, they have not that long holidays. On the other hand, they work pretty hard and they have other priorities, which avoids them from traveling a couple of months around the globe at this moment. Economic reasons, 80%, and visa on the third spot, on the third rank. Which means that there are other reasons. Visa is still an issue, isn't a complicated issue, but it is not the only reason why they're not going to travel. That were some experience, ladies and gentlemen, from also my personal experience in China and some economic background. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And please join us on the panel here. Well, you know, I suppose it's become commonplace now to talk about the vast potential of China, and Europeans looking for new markets, you know, get very excited about the China option and China's potential. Let me start with you, Dorothy. What is the one thing you would point to at the moment which is hindering the expansion of the European travel and tourism business inside China right now?
I think everyone's in the business knows it's mostly the visa applications, the complications of visa, and even those over the past couple of years, the ADS visa applications has improved, but there's still not enough quotas for the visa applications. And for instance, the Germany or Netherlands, if you apply for a visa, they require you to have a hotel confirmations with the hotel letterhead before they can apply for the visa. Now, quite often, some of the hotels during peak seasons not able to confirm the accommodation, so it delayed the visa application.
How many EU countries does that apply to, that particular point about having the hotel confirmation?
3 countries that currently have that in place, which is the Germany, the Netherlands, and Norway, I believe. So,
right.
Yeah.
So, Hans, that's a total nightmare for you, trying to bring Chinese visitors to Amsterdam.
Well, to a certain extent, yes. Well, luckily we have the Schengen visa.
Yeah, I know, but that you still got to get your Schengen visa, and you still got to go through this rigmarole with the hotels.
That's true still, and I realize that's complicated if you are outside the area. Definitely the Dutch embassy is not the number one in hospitality there. You could better do a German or a French visa, I know. And because they are more practical, but the people and inhabitants living in larger cities, they can apply even for an individual visa. Yes, you need to have a hotel reservation, etc. But you can just do it on booking.
Is that, you know...
You can do it on booking and cancel it again.
Right, but I'm imagining, you know, you in pursuit of more Chinese visitors on behalf of your city, you must be doing quite a lot of lobbying to get this system streamlined and improved.
Dutch are being known for the practical part. We advise them not to take a Dutch visum but another visum.
Oh, I see.
The thing is, it's a complicated issue where at the same time we want to the foreign affairs to save money.
Yeah.
So they save the administrative staff on their embassies. And
so hang on, I just want to get, because bizarrely, although you represent Amsterdam, you are advising Chinese visitors not to target their visa application in the Netherlands because it's too complicated.
It's practical. I mean, they're not
well,
traveling.
Yeah, the danger is they'll say, oh, sod it, I can't be bothered to go to Amsterdam. I've had to apply through France or wherever, and Amsterdam gets knocked off the itinerary.
Yes, but at the same time, yes, but that's the practical, well, maybe it's the Dutch way. But bear in mind, what one should realize is that the Chinese are very keen and they know everything how to get there. I mean, if I'm talking to my Chinese students, they say, oh, don't worry, we get everywhere on the internet. We have tricks for that, and we have software for that, and we can everywhere, although everybody is saying everything is blocked. It's not because we use our ways. They have no problem in getting a visa. They complain about the bad service of the Dutch embassy, I'm sorry to say so, and they say, well, we have to wait and blah, 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 but they will find their way.
Right.
The other thing is, if you want to have large numbers, and
but they're the tech-savvy younger ones who are at university, but, you know, we've just heard from Brazil, but I guess it's true in China too, there's now a middle market of sort of 35 to 55-year-olds who have some money, who can travel, who might not be quite as up for the sophisticated use of internet and everything else to get round the obstacles, and you might not be getting many of them coming to
That's
Amsterdam.
definitely true, and that's definitely true, and if you're outside the larger areas, it's a problem. Yes, it is a problem. Although, what I hear also from other countries, say 60% is smooth, and then maybe with 40% you have problems. Still 40% is a huge problem, but the majority is going smooth and is going fine.
And Kerry, China Holidays based in the UK, or
Yes.
So you've got a particular problem because you're not even in Schengen. I mean, us,
totally.
UK, not in Schengen. So even more of a nightmare for you.
Yes, but you see, my company is, well, I started it 15 years ago, and it's really niche. It is only China Holidays, so we go into China and out of China into the UK. And our business is expanding. We bring 45 groups a month into the United Kingdom. But they are all...
How many in a group?
18 average.
18?
18. But they are all business travellers.
Okay.
We are not involved, my company is not involved in the ADS market.
Right.
So we are at the top end. We are with the senior politicians or senior business people. And that's fine. So our business is great. I've got 30 staff in my office in Beijing, and I've got 2 staff that do the visa application. So they still have to do the visa application, obviously, as the ADS. But they're more sophisticated, they're able to do it. So what we also do is to help to promote UK as an inward destination, supporting Visit Britain with my 30 staff there, with web designers. So I'm very aware of the problems for the ADS market and the student market and the VFR market, because we're helping to promote that through my PR company in
You
China.
used one acronym too far for me there. Was VFR?
Oh, sorry, Visit Friends and Relatives.
Okay. All right, so I don't want to spend the whole session on visas. Clearly visas is still a problem with regard to China and Chinese visitors wanting to come to Europe. But what else? I mean, let's go through a few things. I'm afraid to say peddle a few cliches and stereotypes. It's sort of my job in a way, and then you bash me over the head and tell me they're all wrong. But my somewhat cliched view of the Chinese visitor is that they're a bit cautious, a bit conservative, and they don't want to get out of their comfort zone too much, whether it be with language, food, experiences that are just a bit too weird for them. Am I right or am I wrong?
You will say that. Majority of the tourists, Chinese coming over to Europe, predominantly still a very high percentage of the ADS groups. Obviously, with my company, we are one of the largest inbound tour operator, hence we handle quite a massive of ADS groups.
Just in case there's anybody in the room who doesn't know what ADS stands for.
Approved Destinations status. Which they've given you some of the travel agents that you can apply for.
So it means they're basically on packages, organised packages.
Exactly. The travel agent in China are approved by the embassy to apply for the visa to come out. And hence the group size starts from 15 to 40 sizes. And we also do quite a large proportion of the MICE business as well, which is incentive travel, and that is another growing market for China's as well. For instance, last year we did 2,500 to Scandinavia, and this year we have another exactly the same amount to Italy's as well. But ADS is a very large proportion and is growing every year on year. And if they have the visa problem, as we say early on, it's going to hinge the growth in Europe, in business to us. And they, because this new market, they're not comfortable of going out to trying to find their own restaurants and things, hence they're still traveling in the group.
And it's all organised for them?
Organised for them, that they have hotels included, coaches provided all the way for 10 to 12 days tours, visiting all the major tourist attractions, cities, and they must have Chinese meal because that's their diet.
And they're not interested in our wonderful British cuisine, for example?
Unfortunately,
Scotch eggs?
Not.
Toad in the hole?
They probably will put up with one meal of fish and chips.
Fish and chips, well, yeah.
Just to experience that.
But this is a bit odd. You mean basically all of these Chinese groups, whether it's Paris, Rome or London, they're coming for a 10-day experience and they're not really meeting anybody from the host nation at all.
You are right, because they still want to eat Chinese food.
So that's the kind of holiday they want?
Yep.
Right.
Well,
Hans.
that's the type of holiday they want at the moment.
Yeah.
See what's happened with other generating countries in the past. You see the same pattern. What are we doing if we go to Africa? We directly buy everything on every street corner, etc. No, we go safe to the hotel, want to have European food. And how many people in China, Europeans, you see there, having 3 warm meals a day, starting with rice and strange things in the morning? Nobody. We want to have our ham and eggs. Are we that different? No, we are exactly the same when we're traveling around. And that we should bear in mind. It's totally logical that if you are accustomed to another type of food, that in order to feel comfortable in an environment where so many things are already different, that yes, you want to have at least that should be the same way.
Right, okay. No, I didn't mean to be judgmental. I'm just trying to understand. Okay, so it's highly organized. And again, forgive the cliche, but does it revolve around shopping?
Absolutely. Shopping is one of the things that they must do, but you can't push them for shopping. They will ask you, they want to go for shopping. And that's their mentality, but they wanted shopping, and they are good at shopping.
They're good at shopping?
Every city they go...
What's the difference between a good shopper and a bad shopper?
Well, bad shopper, they don't buy anything.
Oh, I see. Well, yeah.
A good shopper like me, I will buy. Shopping is the cultures of Chinese, and it's also a status thing, because they also in the culture of Chinese that you shop, you're not only shopping for yourself, you're also shopping for your friends and family. You buy gift. It's a status thing that you come to Europe, you then buy some gift and you bring it to your friends and your family and colleague, that you show to them that, you know what, I got money, I traveled to Europe and look what I got you, even though it's a key change.
But I know there's a great interest in designer labels, but as I understand it, you know, pretty much all these designer labels now have quite an active presence inside China. So, you know, what's the point of going to Bicester Village to buy an Armani handbag when you can buy the very same Armani handbag in
cost?
It's the cost factors.
Is it much cheaper in
It is a lot cheaper here, yeah. The import tax in China's, and you come to Europe, you go to Bicester Village, obviously you buy the goods that's on the discounted prices, and not to forget that you've got VAT refunds as well, which is quite a lot. For them, so therefore the cost become an important factors that they come to Europe, they want to buy designer brand, and designer brand is a very, very important status in China.
Stephen, I think the figures are, and Tom would know better and you would know better, but between 40 and 47% cheaper.
Yeah, really?
To buy in the UK.
They're making a big
UK, I only know about UK, so I'm not sure about Europe, but yeah. Than to buy the silver.
So any canny tour operator or travel business that's looking to attract the Chinese market has to factor in the shopping experience.
The time
shopping experience.
Right.
See, you can't factor in the shopping in the itinerary, right? But you can factor in the shopping times, working with the guide and the tour leaders, because the Chinese do not like to feel that you are pushing them to go to shopping because they like shopping, even though they wanted to, because they don't want to feel that you are earning commission out from them.
I got you.
So in that, sorry to interrupt you. So. Say on our itineraries, and this is similar for the business travellers, although they're not quite so fervent shoppers as the ADS groups, but they still are keen. We would say put in Bicester situation, Blenheim, say 4 hours for Blenheim. And if they're quick, they can do Blenheim in an hour and a half.
I see.
Which of course gives them then a little bit of time to go to Bicester.
I see. Yeah, that's very clever.
Oh yes, well it's flexible.
But one thing I'm interested in is, you know, you'd think shopping, well, London would be attractive and Paris, but actually you know, and we may get back to visas now, but the UK is surprisingly far down the league table of European destinations, and so in Scandinavia does pretty well.
Yeah.
I mean, why you know, Scandinavia, frankly, is super expensive. Yeah. It's not known for its outstandingly brilliant shopping. I mean, no offence to any Scandinavians, but, you know, it's expensive, and you don't have huge designer labels out of Stockholm or whatever. But why is Scandinavia doing better than the UK?
Well, because they were in the market 10 years before we were.
It's on top of that also, they also, in the non-EU Schengen visas.
So it's all about Schengen?
Yeah, and they also have good flight connections from China.
Finnair.
So hence, therefore, they are one of the top 8 destinations.
So for Tom there, who I thought was about to run away, but he's running back, you know, and he's got to think about the pan-European perspective on China. He's got a huge problem with visas, but particularly, you know, some countries that aren't in Schengen have got a huge problem. But then he's got a problem trying to improve air links and make air links work better for the Chinese market. And you're all suggesting they're not great at the moment.
No. There just isn't the capacity.
Yeah.
And they don't, as we saw from your slides, I mean, Beijing dominates, whereas Guangzhou down the south, which is a big, wealthy area, particularly for the ADS market, I mean, it's not easy.
And what they're building, I think at the moment, 72 new 1 million plus cities, so many of which presumably will have international airports.
Oh, 57 new airports or something they're building over the next 10 years, so yeah.
Yeah, so this is only going to get much, much worse. You're going to have all those potential consumers out there and you just can't get easy access to them.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So what's to be done?
Do you want to talk about the third runway now? Or
well, I suppose you lot, I mean, you two are firmly in the, we need a new airport, or at least a third and fourth runway at Heathrow immediately, are you?
Be a reminder that it also has to do with the negotiations that countries do. It's not just tourism. It's what can I get for it? You want to have an air slot? Okay, what do we get from you? Yes, but we want to have your tourists. That's not the issue. Do I get investment? You should link, everything should be linked up. And you need your government, and we need the European Union for that to negotiate, and that there is a strong link between both continents, between both areas, and then you have chances. But it's not, I would advise not to do it just on the fact that you can gain money, because that's the issue. It's controlled by the government, and you should have something for the government which is interesting. So it's a complex thing. We cannot solve just in the tourism industry. We need everybody to support that.
All right, I'm going to go to questions in just a moment. One more from me. Doris, Steve, this is for you, really. Well, a couple of questions. One is, when is the Chinese market going to mature or develop and change so that there is much less emphasis on the organised package, all-encompassing package, these approved destinations, and it is much more about individual Chinese organising their own holidays and being more sort of creative and free in the way they travel to Europe and other destinations? Is that ever going to happen?
It will happen. Of course it will happen, because I personally see in my company that's handling the mines business, I'm talking not the ADS business, which is the mines business, is slightly niche market that they come out, they want to experience different thing, even though they are organized, but they experience a completely different from the ADS. Let's say that each day they will have one local meal where they go to. Like when I was in Stockholm last year for that 2,500 people, they will have one Scandinavian meal. And in Italy, they will have the Italian meal. They wanted to experience, because those who come on the ADS, once they travel, they will come back again, but they will be very selective where they wanted to go, in which destinations, and they will focus on that, and they will want to experience something completely different, not on just a rush tour, ADS tours. ADS tours is like 10 days, 10 city, 10 city. So you bang, 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 pack everything into one day. You see probably 20 sites that take a picture, snapshot, and go. Take a picture, snapshot, and go. And you're not experiencing anything, it's just a show. But then the other market will start to grow, is those aging about 30 to 40 years old, they are the one who is more exposed to the cultures, the differences, and obviously the access to internet as well, and they're very well educated. They will want more.
Right, and finally, Chinese growth is slowing, and also there's potential political tensions rising between the West, the United States, the Europeans and China on a whole range of trade issues. There's even talk of possible trade wars. For all of the tour companies that are betting on ever increasing, Chinese tourist numbers coming to the West, Europe, the United States, is it not possible that, first of all, the Chinese economy could go into a serious downturn, and second of all, that politics could intervene and make it much more difficult for the Chinese to look with a positive view at the European market? I'm just wondering whether there's a possibility that we're over-egging the Chinese story a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, if I may there, I was just coming to the end of our financial year. I was looking at our figures only this weekend. And our dip this year in our figures was May and June. Nothing to do with the Olympics. It was to do with the Dalai Lama visiting the United Kingdom and being entertained by the British government.
And, some Chinese responded by saying, well, not, or at least they were advised maybe, or whatever.
Well, of course, mine is not the ADS, but mine are the business people who are very, very careful about what they do and being seen, and this would certainly be true in Holland as well.
All right.
So strange things, which
politics does matter.
But no question.
In the central leader economy, it does matter.
Yeah.
And one thing I didn't mention, but that's interesting, as it's all linked up, is studying. We have 400,000 Chinese students in Europe.
Yeah.
Australia is very keen, making links up with university, making facilities for Chinese studying there, where Europe is bouncing that more and more and more.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's very stupid, as these are actually studying abroad is something where you can get a job. The thing is not abroad. There are so many universities of different qualities in China that if you want to be up the mass, you should have a foreign degree, a second foreign degree. That's the reason for studying abroad. It's the same if I'm in Europe and I say, well, I have studied on Harvard. They say, oh, yes, you have a guarantee for a job. A European study or an Australian study is a guarantee for a job. That's why they want to come. But they are the one who bring their family the next time, etc. This is a long-term investment beyond travel.
Totally agree.
Yep. Yeah. I've totally mishandled the timings because we're out of time, but I can't let this end without having at least a couple of thoughts or questions. Has anybody got something they'd like to chip into the China debate? Gentleman at the back.
The behavior of the Chinese travelers as terms of group travel versus family travel. Are they the type of people that likes to travel as a family? They would take their one son or daughter abroad in school holidays and stuff like that, or they prefer to be in a group of their countrymen? Thank you.
We don't oversee 5%, maybe 3% of such a group. We do not see in our business, Dorothea will say, any groups whatsoever. Any family groups, because they have to be
preformed. You're saying you see groups, but you don't see just nuclear families.
No.
It doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen in the UK. I'm not sure about Europe.
Right. So it's not really about individual family travel.
That will come 10 years' time, maybe.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, that's simple. So have you got your hand up there or not? Or am I imagining? No, I'm imagining it. Right. Gentleman at the back.
Thinking aloud, if I may, is it an utopia for the European Union as one body to establish a mechanism for visa facilitation in China, etc.? Because if a Chinese has got a visa, why should he or she go again the same process, visiting another European country, or simple things can facilitate travel, and the benefit is for the whole of Europe.
Yeah, yes. Well, I guess we need a few important ministers and commissioners in the room.
If you stand as an MEP, I'll vote for you.
Yeah.
No, I hate politics. I hate politics, but I think I'm a rational thinker.
Yeah,
And
well,
it seems that common sense is a rare commodity nowadays.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
common sense and the common market don't always go together. Okay, well, we hear you, sir, but I'm not sure we can do much about it. Right, last one, it's got to be the madam, and then unfortunately we're going to have to take a quick break.
I'm from Prague, and I would like to have a question to Amsterdam. What's the benefit of Chinese traveling for the destination? They eat Chinese food, they buy international goods, and they might use some of the hotels and one tour operator. So what's the advantage for the destination? Like destination in Central Europe, I mean.
Yeah, good question. What's the answer?
I will tell you, we think in the same way as the Chinese do, and that's all the investment we do in China and in China as a tourism destination. We cannot count on the couple of bad nights and the money they spend. Then I would directly skip the market.
Yeah.
But being in the Guangxi, giving business relations, having the fact that Amsterdam wants to attract new businesses, etc. We had, I think, 15, 20 new settlements of Chinese companies in Amsterdam. Yeah. That's the benefit of the destination. So it's beyond just the couple of bad nights they spent. It's beyond that. It's an investment in the future, and it's investment in trade relations, more than just the tourism part. Although technical visits, etc., they are interesting. But the interest in all the cases is on different sectors and not only on tourism.
But you're saying it's long-term.
Yeah,
You're admitting there isn't that much short-term, immediate economic benefit, but it's a
long-term and it's spread around different areas.
Right, okay, well that's a very interesting way to end. Thank you for the question. Thank you, panel, for all of the answers. Please give our panel a very warm hand, ladies and gentlemen. Last time I managed to get it wrong, but this time I promise you India is next. So 2 or 3 minutes, we'll do a quick change of microphones and we'll be back with India, ladies and gentlemen.